Hey guys, welcome along to a new episode of Sceam Me Up Botty. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. Star Trek, once again, big surprise. Eventually we are going to get into other stuff other than Star Trek, but for now I am just having a blast actually going through these episodes and watching them for this little podcast and talking a lot of nonsense about it. And something that's really starting to annoy my happiness right now, as I'm sure you can hear it, there is the chair I have in the office has seen better days, and holding my fat backside for the last 7 or 8 years at this point is starting to flip and fall from other, and every once in a while you're going to hear that creak of the chair. So I'm going to apologise for that right now, because I care about the people that actually listen to this stuff, and yeah, you deserve better quality than what I give you most of the time. So, yeah, the chair needs replaced very, very soon. I'm digressing a heck of a lot. We're going to get into this episode here. Episode 16 of Season 2. The Gamesters of Triskelion. Hopefully I pronounced that name right. But before we do anything else, let's get a little bit of intro music in here. Alright, so let's get into it now. I don't know if that intro music is a little bit off, and the outro even here isn't great. Like if you got to the end of the episodes and you hear that all this has been a production of Coins Age Media, thank you for listening. That is pre-recorded on the sound deck. The only problem is the actual volume control on that little sound deck is not working properly. Like where I have it set at right now is the only place where it actually makes any decent sound. If I move it even slightly, it craps itself altogether. So I am debating and actually getting rid of the sound deck at this point. That's the YouTuber on me. Throw an intro onto a YouTube video now, you might as well just throw your audience retention in the bin, because the chances are at this point, whenever I upload this video to YouTube, like by now people are probably going to be gone, just because of that intro music in there. It is difficult to keep people's attention these days. The fact that I'm not the most exciting person in the face of the planet to be recording a podcast doesn't help either, but it is what it is. So I'm talking an awful lot of nonsense. Let's get into this episode. The Gamesters of Triskelion, Season 2, Episode 16 of the original series. Not one of the strongest episodes, in all fairness. There's parts of it I enjoyed. The action sequences on it are very well done. Yeah, it's just not a forgettable episode, but I kind of feel like this is one of these ones where you see it the one time, and if you're going through the show again, you might skip over this one. But there is some good moments with Kirk in this episode. Basically, the plot of this here, spoilers before we go any further. Enterprise, off on a mission, as per usual. They're inspecting the space station Gamma 2, and Kirk decides to beam on to the station. He takes Uhura with him and Chekhov, and when they get to the transporter, they disappear before the systems activate, and you get a little bit of comedy moments there with Scotty when he's in the transporter room and he calls up to the bridge to tell Spock that the captain and Uhura and Chekhov, they got onto the transporter pad and disappeared. Spock was like, I'm assuming you mean that they disappeared not with the normal usage of the transporter. So some dry wit in there. Uhura, along with Kirk and Chekhov, find themselves in a gladiator arena on a strange planet. They're attacked by 4 humans and subdued fairly quickly. This master Frawl of Triskelion, called Galt, informs him that they're going to be trained in games to entertain his masters, called the Providers, and the three of them, they're fitted with this collar of obedience that, pretty much like shocks them or chokes them out if they don't do what they're told. Yeah, so Galt, he's able to control this thing, and it's just his eyes light up and they're getting choked out. They're assigned to three individual drill thralls, Lars, Tamon, and Shanna, looking after each one of them and their needs and whatnot. There is a part in this episode where Uhura is in the cell on her own, and her Thrall, is it Thrall? Drill Thrall. Guy walks in there, door closes behind him, and she starts screaming. So goodness knows what he was doing to her in there. That's not really given out in the episode, but yeah, doesn't sound good. After a period of training, the Providers bid for the new thralls and their currency, Quatlus. So that's what it is. You've got these masters, all-seeing masters essentially, that are betting on the people of the planet in gladiatorial combat, and buying and selling them as like slaves. And one point in the episode, she says to Kirk, we're the thralls for these people, and he's like, well, we had a different name for it, slavery sort of thing. So while running among ancient ruins outside of the arena in a training session, Kirk tries to gain some information about the Providers from this Shanna woman that's training him up. But as he gets too close to the truth, something's going to happen, and at one point the collar's activated, and Kirk protests that he should have been the one punished. And when they're returned back to their cells, Shanna expresses her appreciation for him wanting to take the punishment in her place. When she moves to embrace him, Kirk knocks her unconscious and uses her key to free himself, Uhura and Chekhov as well, but they're stopped by Galt. They're not going to get too far on this planet. Everything's kind of seen, but the moment there where Kirk does genuinely feel for Shanna in this episode, and not happy with the fact that he has to knock her out to try and escape the place. But you kind of feel that he's using her as well. There's no two ways about it. He is using the woman to get out of the place. But at the end of the episode, you kind of it kind of feels like he just uses well, we get to that when we get there. It's like by the end of the episode, she wants to leave the planet with him, sort of thing, and see the stars for herself. This is the whole concept of them. Their whole thing in life is to entertain these masters. It's not a free society. The fact that Kirk and humanity has the freedom to actually get up and build a starship and go and see the stars and different planets and whatnot, completely alien fought for her. And by the end of the episode, she's kind of, I want to go, I want to see the stars too. And Kirk's like, you can't leave the planet till you learn what you need to learn here first, which is a very convenient way of him getting out of this woman hanging out with him. So yeah, fair play to him. While they're trapped in this planet, the Enterprise has been doing a sensor sweep of the planet where they went missing in the first place. Logically, they couldn't have been transported too far with modern technology as far as they're concerned. So Spock is, he's a logical Vulcan in this here. He does all by the book, searching the planet and whatnot. Whenever that fails, you move outwards and keep going and keep going, and he eventually finds an ion trail that's going to lead them to where their shipmates are at. So he does have a bit of a fight against McCoy and Scotty, because he's on to something here. He's following the breadcrumbs to get them there. McCoy and Scotty, they're very much in the mindset of, we've searched the planet, we've done all our sensor sweeps and whatnot, but we could have missed something. We should stay here where they were missing. And there's a one point where Spock kind of pulls him to the side and he's like, you know what, I'm in command here, unless you want to call a mutiny on me, sort of thing. But they don't want to do that, and they work it out, and Spock is like, you know what, we'll follow my idea here. We'll follow these breadcrumbs, see where it takes us. If that doesn't work out, we'll come straight back and search the planet again. Are you happy with that? And of course they are, so Scotty disappears off to give him more power to the warp engines and try and get the prize to go a little bit quicker. They do eventually get to the planet where Kirk, Uhura and Chekhov are trapped in this gladiatorial combat. Spock and McCoy, they're preparing to beam down to the planet. At what point everything kind of stops working. If you can't get off the bridge, the controls sort of like, screw you, you're stuck on the ship, sort of thing. A voice of a provider warns them not to transport down. Kirk's voice also heard at this point. It's like the providers are letting the Enterprise see and hear everything at this point, but you're not getting off the ship. They can also hear Kirk, and he brings them up to speed with everything that's going on. Kirk then challenges the providers to show themselves and finds himself transported into an underground chamber. It turns out these guys at one point in time had progressed to the point where they didn't need their bodies anymore. They're nothing more than disembodied brains at this point, and the only thing that keeps them happy is gambling on these events and whatnot. So the population of the planet at this point aren't going any further as far as actually like learning shit for themselves. They're here to entertain these free little brains and friggin' jars, you might as well say. Kirk offers them a wager, seeing what they are, how they work, what drives them. So he offers them a wager. He says that him, Chekhov and Uhura will fight an equal number of thralls. If Kirk's party wins, the providers will teach the thralls to govern themselves in a free society. If they lose, the Enterprise crew will become thralls. And this, all the people in the Enterprise will, lead to generations of entertainment for you guys trapped on the planet. So big stakes Kirk's putting up here. He embarrasses these brains by saying, how is it that humans can teach primitive cultures but the providers say that they cannot do it? The providers agree to the stakes that Kirk puts up on one condition: Kirk must battle the free thralls alone. So at the end of the episode, we get the big fight here between Kirk and these three guys. The Enterprise crew watches on the view screen. The providers has provided them with a little bit of, entertainment up there as well. Kirk manages to kill two thralls and he injures a third. When that happens, Galt sends in Shanna to take on Kirk in combat. And you think to yourself, okay, right, I was kind of thinking this was a fight to the death sort of a thing here. But he subdues her and she surrenders. The providers declare Kirk has won the wager and unlocks the thralls' collars, letting them all free. And we're going to let you in a free society. We'll teach you how to do this, that and the other. Shanna then, as I said earlier, she expresses a desire to follow Kirk to the stars, but he answers that she and the other thralls must learn to live life and their newborn freedom, You need to learn everything here before you can start to learn to get out into the stars. And just a nice little out for Kirk to get out of this woman. Yeah. It's not hard to see I'm a divorcee, is it? Let me see here. Let's get into some the reception for this episode. Not so much in the reception compared to some of the other episodes. 2017, Den of Geek ranked this episode as the 12th best worst Star Trek episodes of the original series, noting its entertainment value. In 2016, TV Line ranked this as having one of the top 20 moments of Star Trek when Kirk not only spares the life of his defeated opponent, but also convinces the alien authority to allow a free society. So, as I said, a lot of good stuff with Kirk in this episode, but for me, not exactly the strongest of the episodes so far. You could kind of skip over this on a rewatch, but overall, the original Star Trek, very much the rewatchability factor is extremely high for this original series of Star Trek. Obviously, it is for a show that was made back in the 60s, and we're sitting here in 2026 sitting talking about it again. It is 2026, isn't it? I'm just going to look that up to be freaking sure, because for some reason, whenever I said that there, it just did not sound right. 2026. Unbelievable. I still do not feel my age. Let's just put it that way. I was on Facebook scrolling the other day there, and somebody had put up this meme that if Back to the Future was remade now, Marty McFly would time travel back to 1996. I was just like, wow, that puts it into perspective there, because in 1996 I was 1 year out of high school, so I'm an old fart. There's no two ways about it. I am an old man getting, and just like a couple of years time I'll be hitting, well, a couple of years. Yeah, I'm uncomfortably close to 50. Yeah, but I digress one more time. Yeah, Star Trek, the original series, class. After all this time, we're still sitting talking about it. So that's pretty much all I have to say for the Gamesters of Triskelion. And we do have a fourth day in a row for Sceam Me Up Botty. This is definitely some new territory for the podcast. Even though it's running a little bit late, we're still getting it up on the day. That's going to do it for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please let me know in the email. Give me a shout. sceammeupbotty@gmail.com. Check out the website coinsagemedia.com for everything else I'm doing. And I think that's it. There's all the links to everything you could want is on the website, so go check that out. There's some good stuff over there as far as short film content goes. So yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing a little bit of feedback on that. So we're going to do the outro thing here, and you will hear as soon as I press this button that it's not as loud as it could be, and that's all down to this friggin' broken volume thing. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.